Hi, I'm Anthonieta.
I'm Richard.
And I'm John.
And this story
could save
your life. Welcome to True Crime Naija, where we present to you true stories of crimes that happen in our country. We hope that by sharing these stories, we all become more aware of the types of crimes that happen here. And by becoming aware, we become smarter at detecting and hopefully preventing similar crimes. And as always, we welcome feedback. Reach out to us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and WhatsApp. Okay, let's get started. Today, we bring you the case of a young woman who shows up to surprise her boyfriend and goes missing. On a Friday that seems to be like any other, Mr. Oluboyo is sitting in his house in Akure, the Ondo state capital. He dials his daughter's number, but it is switched off. This makes him uneasy. You see, his daughter is a student of a university in Akungba, which is about a 2-hour drive away from their home. And because of this distance, she lives in an apartment close to her school. He had sent her some money for food, and usually she would immediately call to thank him. But this time, he did not hear from her. At least not yet. Oluboyo tells his wife, and they both keep trying to reach her. But all her numbers are switched off. They can't reach her all weekend and they are starting to fear the worst. But 3 days later, Monday the 2nd of July 2018, the silence is broken and their fears are confirmed. Oluboyo receives a call from one of his daughter's friends in school. He picks the call and after exchanging pleasantries, this friend tells him that his daughter Khadijat is missing.
Khadijat Oluboyo is a 25-year-old final year student at Adekunle Ajosin University in Akungba, Ondo State. She is brown-skinned, beautiful, and according to many people, a brainy woman. Her parents are looking forward to seeing her graduate and join her counterparts in the productive sector. Oluboyo and the family begin the search for her. They call her closest friend, and the friend says she last saw Khadijat when they finished lectures on Thursday, the 28th of June. According to her, they took the same motorcycle to their campus houses. On Friday the 29th, they had no lecture, so she didn't see Khadijat. But when she got to the lecture room on Monday, the 2nd of July, and did not see her, she started calling Khadijat's number. She and her other friends continued searching for Khadijat in school, but when they couldn't find her, that's when they decided to call her parents. The news that Khadijat is missing starts to spread like wildfire. It is a big deal.
But why?
Well, her father is a high-profile individual in the state. Alhaji Lasisi Oluboyo was the deputy governor of Ondo State from 2009 to 2017. It is possible that's the reason why it was such a big deal. As the search for Khadijat continues and the news about her disappearance spreads, Oluboyo receives a call. On the other end, a man identified himself as Alhaji Alani Adeniyi Alawo. Alawo is a rich bricklayer from Osun State who also lives in Akure. Alawo tells Oluboyo that Khadijat and his son, Adeyemi, has been dating for a while. Adeyemi is a tall, dark, 27-year-old man. He met Khadijat at the College of Education in Ondo State. Adeyemi lives in his parents' house, but in an area known as the Boys' Quarters. So, Boys' Quarters is a very African concept, whereby the boys in the family, sons and other male relatives move out into their own space when they are of age. But the boys' quarters are still around the parents' compound. The boys' quarters can sometimes double as a guest house for when the extended family comes for a visit. and in recent times they can also get rented out to tenants. Adeyemi lives in one of the rooms in the boys' quarters, while some other tenants occupy the other rooms. Back to the phone call. Adeyemi's father tells Oluboyo that Khadijat used to visit his son at their home, but later stopped. He also tells Oluboyo that he has raised a proper child and that Khadijat is just the right kind of girl he would love his son to marry.
She is missing and this guy is talking about marriage?
Exactly what Oluboyo said. Oluboyo responds saying that Khadijat is missing and so the marriage conversation isn't the family's focus at the moment. Adeyemi's father begins to offer prayers that they will find her. Thankful for the prayer, Oluboyo asks to speak to Adeyemi. Adeyemi gets on the phone and greets Oluboyo. Adeyemi tells Oluboyo that he and Khadijat had met 5 years earlier at the Ondo State College of Education and had been dating since then. Adeyemi also reveals that Khadijat paid him a surprise visit on Thursday, the 28th of June, the last time her friends saw her, but that she headed back to school the next day, Friday the 29th. After the call with Adeyemi, Oluboyo continues to dial his daughter's number, but they are still not going through. At some point, the call goes through and someone picks up. But all he can hear is something that sounds like underground noise, and then the line goes dead again. Shortly after that, he receives a text from Khadijat saying that the mouthpiece of her phone is faulty and that she would call when she switched the phones. Her close friend also calls to tell the family that Khadijat just sent her a text to inform her that she was on her way. Finally, the entire family feels some kind of relief.
But this relief is short-lived. Not long after the text from Khadijat, Oluboyo receives another text message. But this time, it seems to be from someone else. The message says that Khadijat has been kidnapped.
What?
According to Oluboyo, Khadijat has 2 phones, one with 2 SIMs and another with 1 SIM. She also has a 4th SIM, which she keeps in her bag. The text message is from the SIM in her bag. The sender informs the family that they have kidnapped Khadijat, and according to The Guardian, the person asks them to wait for a negotiation team.
That's weird.
Yeah, Oluboyo decides to have Khadijat's phone numbers tracked. They find that one of her numbers was last active in Owo, which is about 49 minutes to Akungba, where her school is located. Her second number was last active in Oba Akoko, which is about 15 minutes to Akungba, where her school is located.
It seems she's heading back to school.
Yeah, it seems like after her visit to Akure to see her boyfriend, that's when she was kidnapped. Her family anxiously waits for the kidnapper to reach out as instructed.
So back at Adeyemi's family house, everything is going on well. Adeyemi's father is at home with his other children. One of his sons, Adeyemi's immediate junior brother, steps out of the house. He wants to go spend some time with Adeyemi at the boys' quarters. This is totally normal, and so Adeyemi's father goes about his own business within the house. Soon after going to the boys' quarters, his son comes back, looking distressed. He sits by his father and says there is something he wanted to tell him. Adeyemi's father is a little confused. What could the boy want to tell him? Of course, he was willing to listen. Then his son says that he returned early from his brother's room because when he got there was a very strong and bad smell. He couldn't figure out what it was.
That's not a big deal. Adeyemi might have a dead rat in the room.
That's the same thing Adeyemi's father must have been thinking. But his son insists that the smell was much stronger. Adeyemi's father is not prepared for the next piece of information that his son is about to give him. His son says that Adeyemi had just confided in him. Adeyemi told him that Khadijat was dead and her body had been buried in his room for the past 6 days.
What? Oh my God, the room he sleeps in?
Yes, apparently the smell from the corpse has become unbearable. So when Adeyemi's brother visited, Adeyemi confided in him and asked him to help get a sack so he could get rid of the body.
Can't even begin to imagine the shock on his father's face.
I know, right? But according to an article by the Nigerian Oracle, Adeyemi's father immediately reports Adeyemi to the Ondo State Police Command and the police swing into full action. The police arrive at Adeyemi's family house and head straight to the boys' quarters. At the boys' quarters, they arrest Adeyemi. But they don't stop there. They enter the room, move his bed, then remove the carpet underneath it. At the corner of the room, they find something like a shallow grave dug through the cement. In the grave, they find the body. Her teeth pulled out, her hair shaved. They assumed the decomposing body of Khadijat Oluboyo.
On the 11th of July, the police paraded Adeyemi to journalists who were allowed to interview him. During the interview, Adeyemi denied any involvement in Khadijat's death. According to him, he had dated Khadijat for 4 years before they parted ways in 2015. And they only reconciled after the last Ramadan celebration, and things had been great. The previous weekend, she sent him photos of her school project via WhatsApp for correction. Then, on the Monday before she went missing, she had asked him to send her 2,000 naira, but he was only able to send 8,000. Adeyemi said he was surprised to see Khadijat in his house on Thursday the 28th. According to Adeyemi, Khadijat said she visited because she wanted to entertain some visitors in his house. A few minutes later, she then brought in 2 boys. This didn't shock him because it was not the first time she invited friends over to his house. When they had settled and exchanged pleasantries, Adeyemi says he stepped out of the room. After 30 minutes, one of the boys called Adeyemi in, and according to him, as he entered, he discovered that one was holding a small gun in his hand, while the other boy was on Khadijat, naked. At that point, he heard Khadijat saying, "I will not tell anybody." But instead of letting her go, the boy strangled her to death and threatened Adeyemi that if he shouts, he dies. They forced him to find a digger or pickaxe, which he used to break the cement in his room, and buried her.
Wait, was the digger in his room?
Apparently not. According to the Punch newspaper, Adeyemi said the boys had asked him to go out and bring a digger and shovel, and when he returned with them, they instructed him to start digging the shallow grave for them to bury her body.
Hold on, no one from the compound heard them digging? What kind of floor was in the house?
Well, from photos online, Adeyemi's room had this cemented floor under the carpet, and also, according to the Vanguard newspaper, Adeyemi said the home theater in his room was turned up really loud so that no one could hear what was happening, even when they were digging the grave in his room. He said on the 5th day, he got uncomfortable, so he exhumed her body and confided in his younger brother. But the police did not buy his story. According to Vanguard newspaper, the Ondo State Police spokesman, Femi Joseph, described Adeyemi's claims as an infantile defense that does not hold water. He saw Adeyemi's confession as an attempt to remove himself from the murder case. According to Vanguard, the police command said that Adeyemi joined cybercrime, popularly known as Yahoo Yahoo, that year, but upgraded to Yahoo Plus to earn more money.
What is Yahoo Plus?
According to the Vanguard, Yahoo Plus is more than just cybercrime. Yahoo Plus involves ritual activities. Now, Khadijat's father, Lasisi Oluboyo, refused to press charges.
What?
Talking to Vanguard reporters, he said he believed that God's judgment was more than any human verdict. He also saw no use in Adeyemi going away to prison or getting sentenced, since it won't bring his daughter back. But the state was not going to let this case go. Premium Times reported on the 27th of March 2019 that an Ondo High Court judge, Justice Samuel Bola, sentenced Seidu Adeyemi Alao to death by hanging. In his judgment, Justice Bola said that Adeyemi failed to establish his innocence in the crime because he did not raise any alarm when the two men he claimed had invaded his room, killed Khadijat, and ordered him to bury her. The judge also pointed out that Adeyemi kept the killing a secret for 5 days until his brother disclosed to their father his plans to dispose of the decomposing body. The judge said all the pieces of evidence before the court affirmed that Adeyemi killed Khadijat.
This was such a terrible way to die, but I'm glad that the family at least found her body and was able to lay her to rest.
Yes, and it also took a lot of courage of Adeyemi's father and his brother to come forward like that. Turning a family over to the police is not easy, especially when you know the crime is so bad.
True, like the case of Janet Obonaya that we did a few weeks ago. The brothers covered for each other.
Yeah, so what Adeyemi's father and brother did was very rare and commendable.
Join us next week for another True Crime Naija story. This time, it's the story of a child who goes missing from church. True Crime Naija is a Triple E Media production. Copyright 2021 Triple E Media Productions. If you enjoyed this episode of True Crime Naija and want to hear more, subscribe to our 234 Audio YouTube channel. Episodes of this podcast and our other podcasts can also be found on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe and leave us a review. This episode was produced by Anthonieta Kalunta, John Iwodi, Richard Anyebe, Dominic Tabakaji, and Sam Tabakaji. Executive producer Rahmat Muhammad. Special thanks to Rabia Hadejia, Aredi Isha, and Mala Iwa Gbado Ikaleku. Stay alert, stay alive. See you next week.